All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, September 23rd. Just 4 MLB games on today's slate. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. So all 4, I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, all of my final plays, if you do want to fade me, all of my final plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Make sure to keep an eye on that. In terms of last night, I know football's on, but we can still bet some MLB. We got a sweep, 3-0. Kind of a weak money gun action there, but you know what? Still pull it off. We had the Pirates and the Reds first 5 under. That cashes. We had the Diamondbacks team total, which we just continue to take home and to the bank. That cashes. And then we had the Giants and Royals Nerfy. You know what sounds coming? That cashes all. Pumping some damn crowd noise. A 3-0 night. I don't know if we're going to have 3 plays today with a 4-game MLB slate, but you know what? We shall see. Like I said, keep an eye on the pin comment. We're not forcing anything here with just 4 games. But guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Let's go ahead and jump into this. We're starting off with Philly taking on the Chicago Cubs. And it looks like we're going to have Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies going up against, I think, Nate Pearson's opening, but then Hayden Wesnecky is the primary pitcher here for the Cubs, so I guess that's worth noting. Aaron Nola has some good numbers against this Cubs team in the past, and they've seen a lot of each other. 135 plate appearances against. He has a strikeout rate of 29%, an average against of 181, which is obviously damn good, and then an expected batting average against doesn't even jump that high to 219 with an xWOBA of 276. So I do think Aaron Nola should have a decent game here, but this Cubs offense has looked okay, right? They scored, I want to say, an average of just about 4.5 runs in their last 10 games. They do have some games where they're scoring 1, so consistency hasn't been like their forefront great thing, but they've been playing okay. They won 5-0, 5-0 yesterday, so I think this Cubs team could kind of combat how good Aaron Nola has been. The Cubs, neither team really has all that much to play for at this point in the season, but overall, I would say that this game stays somewhat close, and you're getting decent odds for the run line. Now, you guys know, if you watch every day, I don't always take run lines, but when I do, I'm going to be either looking at the team that's getting the +1.5, or if you're laying the 1.5, I want plus money behind it. Both situations are true here, but the Cubs have kept their game in the last 10, at least, to within that 1.5 number in 7 of their last 10, 3 of their last 5. That includes wins as well. So I think I'm going to lean in that direction. Now, I don't love the pitching, I get that, but I'm kind of going to trust the Cubs offense in the spot. Last time they went up against this team, they scored 10 runs in a 10-2 win. That was against Christopher Sanchez, but he was on the road. So a little something to, I guess, note there. Aaron Nola, last time he pitched against this team, was last year, and in his last 3 starts against him as a 3.3 ERA, so not exactly like a stud there either. So give me the Cubs plus the 1.5 runs. In terms of the total, I think this one sits right around 8, so it's tough. I'm going to say that there's a potential that this one goes over if this Cubs offense steps up like I kind of think it will. So slight lean towards the over, but I think the main play in this one is going to be taking a peek there at the Cubs plus 1.5. But again, guys, remember, we're not forcing anything today. For the rest of the season, I even said it in one of our last MLB videos, right? Like, especially with NFL here and obviously more things to consider wagering on and whatnot, you don't always need to be forcing things into the MLB, especially in a 4-game slate, especially coming off of a 3-0 night. All right, next up, we have Toronto taking on Boston. I want to jump into a player prop to start this one, so let's jump into the outlier screen. If you guys don't know what outlier is, I talk about it a lot. It's my favorite player prop research tool. For just $19.99 a month, you can get this tool. I'll have a link in the pinned comment. The best part is you have 7 days free to try it, so go use that trial link. 7 days free, but I wanted to lead with that price of $19.99 because a lot of these sites that do free trials or first X amount of days free, well, you get hit with like a couple $100 of a bill afterwards, right? Not outliers, $19.99 per month. You win a few plays with this thing, it's paying for itself. Now, this one earlier was a lot more valued. Now it's in the -170, so unfortunately, it's probably something that I stick away from. Maybe we can consider the under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs because, you have way better odds there. But it's George Springer under either 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs or under 1.5 total bases. Now, these numbers aren't going to look all that great. He's going up against Tanner Houck, who's a righty. He bats righties better. Tanner Houck against righties is a little bit worse. But Tanner Houck specifically, 11 at-bats here. George Springer, 11 at-bats against Tanner Houck. 0 hits, 0 anything. .091 on base percentage, a 45% K rate for a guy like Springer that strikes out less than 20% of the time. But the biggest thing here, I'm going to filter the slider, which is Tanner Houck's biggest pitch. The slider, his K rate jumps and his WOBA drops. So I think it's a really good spot for Tanner Houck to be able to give George Springer some trouble. You can see George Springer only really hits everything that's over the plate. Tanner Houck, the majority of his pitches, almost 40% of, and this is the slider, by the way, come low and outside to the right-handed batter. In 29 sliders that George Springer's seen, he's only hit 3 of them for a 103 average in that heat zone. So I like this spot for George Springer. Again, under 1.5 hits. I saw it at -160 earlier, and I was like chomping at the bit. Didn't place it. Now it's in the -170s. Obviously, I think it's more of a fair price, but I don't mind his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs either. Now, when it comes to a side pick or a total pick in this one, we have Chris Bassett on the mound. I already talked about Tanner Houck for the Red Sox. This Blue Jays offense has still looked okay, but the Red Sox offense last 2 days looking pretty good. And I guess I should say that Blue Jays offense maybe hasn't looked all that great in the last, week and a half or so, but prior to that, they're pretty damn consistent. I just don't think the Red Sox continue to do it. If we look at the games prior to what the Red Sox did yesterday, and again, they had 2 games yesterday, they went 8-1 and 9-3 and bumped the Twins out of the playoffs right now, so that was pretty crazy. If you watch back yesterday's video, I was like, the Twins must care about this one, right? I don't know what they thought was coming because they did not perform. But overall, I trust this Toronto team a little bit more, but Tanner Houck should have a decent spot here, especially going up against a team that doesn't hit sliders very well, and you get the Red Sox for plus money. So while I see the angle, and honestly my initial sort of reaction was Toronto, I think I'm going to trust Tanner Houck, who has struggled, mightily based on if you compare this part of the season to the beginning of the season. But the way he's been pitching against Toronto, I like. In his career, 56 plate appearances against. He's got a 176 average against, 218 expected batting average, a WOBA of 216, expected WOBA only at 290, so I like that spot. Chris Bassett actually has some decent numbers against the Red Sox as well, so I think I'm going to be leaning towards the Red Sox and the under. Like I mentioned, I don't think the Red Sox offense continues to do what it did yesterday. In Toronto, though I like that offense, even they have cooled off, so give me a 4-3, maybe a 6-2, it's a push, 5-2 type of a win for the Red Sox there. Tanner Houck, let's get going here. I mean, he was so good, Cy Young-esque at the beginning of the year. Since the All-Star break, which has now been a long, long time, hasn't been himself. But yeah, few plays to consider there, guys. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. All right, Houston taking on Seattle. We have Hunter Brown on the mound for Houston. They're coming off of a loss against the Angels. It's funny. I said I would still look at Houston, right, in some money line parlay, but I even mentioned it. I was like, they've beat them 3 straight games. Now might be the time to take a flyer on LA at plus 250, and they cash. Seattle coming off a loss to Texas. Kind of a similar spot there, and I like that idea. Like another spot in which I kind of called correctly. I said Seattle, all the reason in the world to win that game against Texas, but now they have Houston on deck. They look past it, and what do you know? A 6-5 loss yesterday for them. Now, Bryce Miller's on the mound for Seattle. Hunter Brown's been really good. He's kind of come back down to earth in his last 2 starts, but nonetheless, still a 1.6 ERA over his last 5. But Bryce Miller's been pitching phenomenally as well. 1.2 ERA in his last 5. The one thing I'll say, Bryce Miller's on the road, and his road numbers are not nearly as good as his home numbers. I don't love him in that ballpark. Hunter Brown, a little bit better at home, so I think that this is probably a Houston spot. In terms of implications here, Houston leading their division right now, the West, and then Seattle 2 games back of the wild card, so definitely not out of it, right? I don't know if they're gonna, be able to. They need a lot to happen, I guess, in terms of being able to get up there. Like the Tigers, Royals, and Twins all kind of stinking it up. But nonetheless, they're still probably fighting for it. But again, I don't love the idea of Bryce Miller on the road here. Give me Houston, who's coming off of a loss, to kind of bounce back here. -155. Don't know if I love that price tag. I think we can do a little bit better. I think I saw, -130 on FanDuel right now, actually. So the graphic's a little outdated. So that's probably a spot that I would go. Both bullpens pretty good as well. Final score-wise, I could see this being another under game. Not the same way I like Toronto and Boston, but I think that this is a spot in which, you're either going to have the Seattle Mariners that show up and score a lot of runs, and they did do that in their last series, right? Like, even though they lost yesterday, they still scored 5 runs. But the series before, they scored a total of 6 runs. So we could see that if they don't show up here. I feel like they play with a lead a lot, but if they have to really press to score some runs, it doesn't look all that great. So give me the under, but much more inclined to pull trigger on Houston money line. But just know that Seattle is going to be clawing to try and get there, to try and have a postseason berth. All right, real quick, guys, very, very important because Underdog is dropping a free square just for tonight. Joe Burrow, we have 2 Monday Night Football games on. Here's a free square for 0.5 total yards for Joey B there. All he has to do is either pass for it or run for it. He's going up against, the Washington defense. I think he should be able to get it. So go check out Underdog. You're also going to get up to $1,000, $1,000 in bonus deposit bonus if you deposit today. I have a link in the pinned comment. You can also just sign up using code GUYBOSTON and then deposit there. But the easiest way to do it auto applies it, is using that link in the pinned comment. Very, very easy, and you get access to this free square. Go ahead and check it out. Underdog Fantasy, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. But all right, let's get into the last game of today's slate, and I wonder where we're gonna go with this one. Arizona taking on San Fran, and I kind of kid there saying I wonder where we're going to go because our favorite play we can't get now. They're over 3.5 is at -220, so they finally priced it out there. Diamondbacks, Giants again. We have Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound going up against Hayden Birdsong here. That graphic's a little bit outdated too. I think you could still get the Diamondbacks, or can get, I should say, Diamondbacks in the -160s on Caesars. So if you like their spot, sure. You have the Diamondbacks, who look like they're, all things considered, if they keep things going, have a 2-game lead in their wild card spot. And then San Francisco, 10 games out, so I don't think that they're really thinking that they have much of a chance here. Eduardo Rodriguez, do I trust him? Not as far as I could throw him. He started to look a little bit more consistent, but still 3.2 ERA. He hasn't pitched against the Giants in forever. He does have a decent amount of plate appearances against the current guys on the roster, though. So when I say that, I mean a player could play for the Red Sox, then come over to the Giants, and if he played against them, it's still going to count. Excuse me. Lost my voice. So 44 plate appearance against, K rate of 32%, a walk rate down at 4, which is pretty good, an average against of 214, an expected batting average against of 201, so it gets even better, and then an xWOBA of 286. So this one's pretty simple to me. Hayden Birdsong, I don't trust as far as I can throw him, but I could throw him, I guess, further than Eduardo, but we're not counting that. I still think that Eduardo is a little bit better, even though I don't have full faith in him. But what I have faith in is obviously that Diamondbacks offense. And guys, at this point in the season, and I almost if you could take anything from this video, make sure to continuously look at the lineups and who's playing. A lot of teams are starting to either throw in guys that have been injured all year, getting their kind of run in there, or getting younger guys reps and whatnot. I think actually the Giants are doing a few of that today. So just keep an eye on the lineups. Arizona looks like they're going to have a decent amount of their usual suspects. You know what I mean? So that's a good thing for this type of play, but that's always something to keep an eye on. I liked Houston, right? Houston has their normal lineup going today. So that's obviously something as the season winds down. But Arizona on the money line here. In terms of the total, I'll lean towards the over because I do want to pull the trigger on the Diamondbacks, but now we can't get that team total. So this could be a spot, and I rarely do this in the MLB. We do it a lot in the NFL. A same game parlay where maybe we go Diamondbacks +1 run or +1.5 run, but we give them 3+ runs themselves. So it's they have to hit their team total, and we can move and massage that line a little bit. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. That definitely sounds like something, and I just say that now. I didn't even think of that earlier. So right off the top of the head, right? That sounds like something that I could convince myself of. But guys, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment Lucky 13. Comment 13 if you made it this far. Small MLB slate. I know there's a lot of other sports going on, college football, NFL, that type of thing, WNBA playoffs, but we're still grinding here making the baseball videos, even if not as many people are betting baseball. But look at that. We went 3-0 yesterday. There's still value here, and it's still worth it to me. I know a lot of people might say, well, I'm not even watching that video anymore, but, well, we're still going to make it, all right? I do think that there's enough value out there and still can have a fun time betting and doing the videos here for MLB. But that's my little rant to end it. You guys know you always get somewhat of a rant at the end, right? But I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.